Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We're experiencing a few technical difficulties there. My name is Richard Tapia, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent here at Riverbank Unified School District. And it's awesome to see that we've reached capacity on our Zoom. We don't usually use Zoom in our district. We are a Microsoft Teams district, so we gave you the opportunity, because Zoom is so much more functional and easier to use, to start in that format tonight. So I have a request. One of the things I wanted to remind you all is that we will be recording this conversation, and we will. I have a list of questions and some guidelines that I want to share with you. But I would ask that if you are a teacher and you are online, that you relinquish your spot so that parents who have been reaching out to be part of the conversation can join us. So if we could do that for our parents and for our community, that would be outstanding. So
you're going to post the recording.
We will post the recording on our district website this either later on this afternoon or tomorrow evening. So we'll give the participants a few minutes to teachers a few minutes to sign out, a couple seconds to sign out, and then the rest of you can sign in, and we will go from there. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, I got 86.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started now. It looks like we're down to 85 participants, so there was a number of teachers who were online. So I appreciate that, teachers. Thank you. And here we're headed back up to that magic 100. All right, so as I shared with you, my name is Richard Tapia, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent here at Riverbank. And let's start with, unfortunately, given this pandemic and given this situation, is absolutely not the perfect thing that we have been considering and or had planned for. If you had asked me this question about school 2 weeks ago, we would be starting with students in classes, feet on the ground. That was our goal. But unfortunately, the data and the science has directed us in a different direction. As most of you may or may not know, the numbers here in Riverbank specifically have increased exponentially, which has forced our public county health official to make the decision to have the entire county go distance learning. So with that being said, our general guidelines of distance learning continue to develop as we're working through the process of planning and collaborating with our teachers, planning and collaborating with our teachers and our administration. So with that being said, our general guidelines is that students will be accessing curriculum on a daily basis. What does that specifically look like? It's going to be different per grade level and per school. So as an example, if you have a student who's at Riverbank High, they will be attending, some form of their schedule as they would have if they would be feet on the ground on campus. So as opposed to a student who may be at California Ave, who will have contact with their teachers on a daily basis in one way, shape, or form or the other. What that specifically looks like I said, we're still working on those guidelines. And what the time frame behind that is, we're still working on the guidelines in terms of that as well. A couple of housekeeping issues. We will be scheduling time at each site, and each site will be doing that for students to pick up Chromebooks, because we will be issuing Chromebooks from TK to K, from TK to 12. So that our guidelines in terms of that everyone will have a Chromebook. If you have a need for a hotspot, we will ask you to contact those of you who may have emailed into the support email regarding some of the questions that I have here. If you need a hotspot, we will have those available to families. And in terms of collecting our students' items from last year, we will also be sending out a schedule by school, by grade level, to collect the items from last year. So those are kind of just some housekeeping information that I wanted to share with you right out front. The state has given us some flexibility in terms of our daily minutes, in terms of students being engaged in instruction on per daily minutes. So we are looking at what that is going to look like specifically at each grade level. Our state has also given us some flexibility in terms of what that instruction looks like. So we're working on that with the groups that I've shared with you previously, and we wanted to respond and or give as much information as we can. But like I shared with you at the outset, this situation, as we all know, has been fluid and constantly changing. So that being said, what I share with you today could be different tomorrow, could be different next week, because that's what we've been experiencing in terms of trying to plan for what's taking place presently. So the time frame, we still plan on starting school on August 6th. And like I said, you will hear from your school sites either regarding letters, regarding posts on their website, regarding dialers as we normally send out, regarding the information in terms of, you know, when you'll be able to pick up your materials, who your child's teacher will be next year, and how that process will be formulated. And like I said, that will happen at a school by school basis. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of go through a list of some of the questions that I had that were posed online previous to the session, and answer as many of those as I can. We will try to get through as many questions as we possibly can. I want to thank, I have a couple people monitoring the chat room. So if you have some questions, even if I don't get to those questions in the chat room, I will have them as a resource and be able to answer them. All these questions that I've answered so far and the questions that are in the chat room will be posted with the video in terms of under distance learning frequently asked questions. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first one. How will classes go about for kindergartners? What in hell will the kindergartners be doing school? What format will they have, and how will they turn in their work and retrieve new work? How will their teacher be involved? So at this time, as I shared, we'll be issuing Chromebooks to TKK students, TK to 12, to make connections with their teachers and their classmates on a daily basis. We will also be providing pencil and paper packets for students at TK and K to complete and return to the teachers. Teachers will share a schedule with you regarding pickup and drop off of materials. As the program progresses, student activity and engagement will progress as well. So we know that developmentally, that although students may be able to click on, or parents may help students click on a Zoom or a Google Classroom or something like this, to have that connection, that face-to-face connection that we're having right now with their teachers. That is our goal, is for them to have that connection with their teachers, know who their teachers are, and develop a relationship with them, develop a relationship with some of their classmates virtually, and then progress the rigor of that instruction as the school year progresses and as they become more comfortable with the technology. So the next question, will there be more than one option for distance learning? Would my child have to remain on that option for the entire year or just during the pandemic? So as I shared, 2 weeks ago, we were coming to school, feet on the ground. That has changed. So what Riverbank has done in response to that is develop the virtual instructional program for distance learning when we return to school. The guidelines for those are posted on our website, both the guidelines and the application. Families that decide to roll in the VIP program will complete at least the minimum current grading period. So let's say, for example, that we were coming back to school in the fall, on August 6th, and you chose to be part of the virtual instructional program. The minimum time that you would have to stay in that program would be the first grading period for the school that your student attends. So as an example, if you're at elementary, it would be the first trimester. If you're at the high school, it would be the first quarter. And then we will have guidelines in terms of when we do return to school, and that does become an option, how much in advance you will need to notify us regarding your desire to come back to school. Okay, the next question will be, how will a child get their IEP goals met? If a child is being seen by a therapist or other mental health team members, how will those services be given? The special ed teachers and providers will be contacting students and parents on their caseload to discuss the distance learning emergency plans for each individual student. So if your student has an IEP and we're looking to get those goals met, you'll be contacted by your student's case manager to address those. And the mental health therapist will contact the student's parents to set up sessions once school starts. And we do know that the mental health therapists that we had that were available during the spring closure was they were available, and students were reaching out to them. And so that format will continue in the fall, as long as we're on distance learning for the school year. So I also wanted to respond to some questions just previously in terms of what distance learning looked like for us in the spring. Remember, the governor put the order in on or about March 15th. We extended our school till March 18th. It basically gave us 2 or 3 days to plan for virtual or for distance learning in that format at that time. The distance learning at this time will look much differently, and I'll get to that as we progress through the questions. Will there be IT available for unseen obstacles with electronics and the use of the programs that will be used? Can we get clarification on Chromebooks that are to be handed out to students? Are they being loaned? So as I shared, all students in the district will be issued Chromebooks with the same guidelines and expectation as our 7 to 12 students. So we have previously had Chromebooks issued to our 7th through 12th graders. The guidelines for our TK through 12th graders will be consistent with that. And like I said, each school will reach out to their students and to their families and schedule that Chromebook disbursement here before the week, at the latest, the week before school starts. And our IT department will be available to support students and families by request. Again, that support email that those of you may be familiar with that respond or that sent some questions, that will be how our IT department will contact you. One of the things that I do want to make you aware is because we will have an influx of those Chromebooks and an influx of all things technological, starting August 3rd through getting school going. That first week will be kind of a struggle because they'll be out helping disperse Chromebooks and trying to take care of our on-site technology issues, because this will be a first go with us as well in terms of our bandwidth and our ability to stream and those kinds of things. So that week it may be slow, but rest assured that you will be on a list and you will get your concerns and issues addressed. Okay. So when school was put on distance learning last year, there was a lot of confusion, and the outline of the assignments and resources was not easy to understand and use. Can the guide to use the use of the apps or programs be simplified? Will there be any education training provided to parents on the programs used in distance learning, example, iReady or any others used, in order for parents to assist students while at home? So we plan on minimizing our formats to 2 formats that are user-friendly and easy to operate. One of them will be the Microsoft Teams format that teachers are becoming trained on presently, and the other will be Google Classroom that teachers utilize. Some teachers utilized last time, and other teachers will be working toward that. And we will also schedule opportunities for parent education and technology that we'll be using in the school district. So our goal is also to teach you parents the formats and the technological programs that we are utilizing in the district. So our goal is to give you some familiarity with it. We'll set up some online learning opportunities and some interaction for you to be able to help support your students and then help support them. Okay. The next question is, when county approves, will students have the option to go back to classroom learning? Our goal is to get kids back on the classroom campus as soon as possible. The rest assured, that is our bottom line goal. We want kids in seats. We have a leveled phased implementation plan that we continue to work through and develop that will be shared as soon as it is completed. This will address the plan to reintroduce our students back to our campuses, but ultimately that is our goal. And in this phase thing that I'm talking about, one example is that 2 weeks ago, again, I will share with you how fluid this situation is. 2 weeks ago, we shared that even though we weren't going to have students weren't going to be coming back to campus, we were hoping to be able to serve students in small groups, social distancing on our school campuses. That option was taken away from us. And so as soon as the county clears and we have the directions and the support of the public health official, we will provide opportunities at school as soon as possible. And like I said, it will be a phased in. If you've been following the news and the information, obviously the goal or the science says that our younger children, our elementary kids, probably K through 5th, are less susceptible to have the markers that carry the virus. And so that will be the science that we'll be following as we implement. One of the other things that we're just to be honest and transparent with you is that we may bring them back and then have another order to send them back and then bring them back. But our goal is to get them on campus and in their seats as soon as we possibly can. Let's see. In the spring, Rame teachers were mixing languages during instruction. Will this be the case in the fall, or will it be the expectation that there will be 2 teachers, each with their designated language? For the fall, the teachers will be teaching their lessons in a specific language. There will be a designated Spanish time, English time, and Mandarin time. The time within each session will depend on the allotted minutes based on percentages of the Rame program. So they're going to try, given the reduced amount of minutes that we have been afforded by the State Department, will reflect also the reduced amount of minutes in the other 2 languages. Okay. How will Mandarin teachers have a role or scheduled time? Will it be only 15 minutes a week like in the spring? I did not see a benefit in such little time. Well, Mandarin will have a designated time for an everyday lesson instruction for grades 1 through 5. We will be working with them to develop a consistent schedule, which each teacher will have a time for their Mandarin lesson. The amount of minutes will depend on the grade level and the allotted minutes for distance learning. So yes, we plan on maintaining that Mandarin part of the Rame program, and we plan on engaging that, and we plan on supporting our students in that area. My son is supposed to start the Rame program August 6th. Is there a distance learning program for this? Kinder students will begin with distance learning, in which Chromebooks will be an option, as I shared, with supplemental pencil and paper packet that would include additional learning in the Rame program. And as I shared, that rigor and that engagement for kinders will increase as the kinder students become more proficient with the technology as an instructional option. Will they learn Spanish at some degree? Instruction for the Rame program will be in the designated language of focus. They will receive Spanish, English, and if applicable, Mandarin instruction, each at their designated times. So that's for the Rame program. What are the hours going to be? How much time will be expected? Doing synchronized learning and actual instruction with the teachers? Each teacher will be developing a schedule that will stay consistent throughout the entire distance learning time. And we'll be sharing that with parents. Cardoza and Riverbank High School will have more specific guidelines that they will implement. Again, the specific time in terms of how this looks and how this will be featured for each school will have some flexibility. Will students have interaction with teacher and students? Each learning lesson will include a specific amount of minutes that is designated with interaction and oral language practice. There will also be designated independent practice times. So it'll be a mixture of both, working together and working independently.
There will be direct instruction from teachers, but yeah. I think that's one of the questions.
Okay. Let's see. How will the Rame work in different grades? Each teacher, as we shared, will be developing a schedule that will stay consistent throughout the distance learning time, and we'll be sharing that with parents. The parents will be giving the schedule to coordinate for each child as they might have different schedules. And yes, there will be direct instruction that will take place throughout the distance learning program.
So I think one of the questions, Richard, that keeps coming up, and I'm gonna just step in here because
Mhm.
it fits. They wanna know if they have kids at different ages, how they can all be doing their own different lesson at the same time, because they're all gonna be engaged online with the teacher, so I think.
Yes. So Ms. Fasella, who is sitting in the room with me, has shared that to clarify that teachers will be engaging with students, and students will be doing their lessons at their level with their instruction. And like I said, it will be part of being online with your teacher and part of doing independent practice. One of the next question was, will parents have an opportunity to discuss how things are going and possibly adjust the instruction or format? Parents are always welcome to communicate any instructional concerns directly to their child's teacher. We encourage that both on if we're feet on the ground on a regular basis or now. So any kind of questions, any kind of concerns related to the instruction need to absolutely be brought to the teacher's attention, and then after that to the administrator's attention if it doesn't get resolved. So making sure that you're communicating. We know that each of you, much like our situation, each of you have a unique situation that needs to be addressed, and we will do our best to accommodate and to work through that with you collaboratively. My concern is internet. I do not have the service for financial reasons. Are there any options for me or for those who are in the same situation? As I shared, the district will provide opportunities to issue hotspots for instruction for those families that are in need. And details on that will come from your school site and will be forthcoming. Okay. Is there a possibility that the school start might be postponed to allow for time for proper training for both teachers and students? At this time, we are not planning to postpone the school year. We will begin the school year as scheduled. And as I said, it's a very fluid situation. It's something that we're working on, and there will be adjustments as we go. And I've shared constantly, my message has been one of the things that we need to maintain is rigid flexibility. And what I mean by that is that we are going to come across some things that we haven't thought of, and so we're going to have concerns that are going to come up because they're unique to each family's situation. And so our goal is to respond to those to the best of our ability and to work through those. Just like you, we are going through this for the first time, and so there's no, I can't say in the 30 plus years that I've been in education that I've done anything remotely similar to this. So there are going to be things that we're not familiar with, things that are going to come up, and things are going to present ourselves. We are going to work to the best of our ability to respond to those and work with you as a family to address those. So we're in this together, right? I'm sure you've heard that on a number of occasions. Wondering if there is a scheduled date for students to get their IDs for this year and when they will get their schedule and textbooks that they may need. Each school site will schedule time to give schedules and materials to students before the school year begins. And in terms of textbooks, we have what we call consumable items that kids use on an annual basis. And so those consumable items will be stuff that will be items and materials that we'll be sending home so that they have the appropriate materials, not only technologically, but paper and pencil and hands-on regarding that. Okay. All right.
You
So
wanna hit up some of these ones in the chat box?
sure. Why don't you, we're going to hit a couple of the questions in the chat box that we need to address.
So let's address first, will there be a number that people can call if they can't log on?
So the question is will there be a number that people can call if they can't log on?
Or kids?
Or students. And so there may be a number. We haven't got to that point, but that'll be something that we'll address. But probably the most efficient way to address that would be through the support. And so through the support information that we will provide, and we will definitely consider on how we can best address that as that comes up. Another one, Ms. Fasella.
Once students are able to return to the classroom, will virtual learning still be available for those who want it?
So yes, virtual learning will be available for students once we do return to a classroom. It is an option that we want to provide. I think I responded to that question earlier. It is an option that we want to provide, and looking at the guidelines that are on our website, it will be run under that format for the 2021 school year.
How will scheduling of classes work with other siblings in different grades yet at the same school? When they're home online?
That is something that is definitely going to be one of those variables that we're going to have to take a look at. But when they're home, they're going to be online at a particular time. And like I said, there's going to be independent time. There's going to be student on time. And then if you have, let's say, two students, a second grader and a fifth grader, and some of those schedules are presenting challenges, those are the kinds of items that we'd like to hear about and have you communicate with us so that we can respond, and if possible, make some adjustments to that instructional time.
Somebody asked about
One of-
schedules. I think one thing you might want to share with parents is that the expectation is there's going to be set hours and it's not going to change. It's going to be regular, and that teachers will be teaching from their classroom online so that you can see the lessons.
Interact. So Ms. Fasella wanted me to reiterate that schedules will be established and that will be communicated before school starts in terms of what the expectations are and what time these teachers will be available and what time they'll be teaching online. So there'll be a definitive time where they'll be instructing online, and then there will be a definitive time where they'll be available to answer questions outside of that instructional time. So like I said, the State Department has given us some flexibility in terms of our minutes, and with those minutes, we'll create some flexibility for availability. There will be as I said, instruction will look differently at each grade level. There will be a whole group instruction when we're talking with all kids at one time, and then there will be individualized instruction when I have a smaller group online that I'm sharing, that I'm working with. And so those schedules will be developed as the teachers become more familiar with their students. Remember, I'm a fifth grade teacher. If I'm a fifth grade teacher, these kids are going to be new to me, and so I'm going to have to get a understanding of where they are, an evaluation of where they are, and try to work through them with that. So once we have there'll be a instructional schedule, and then there'll be a support schedule depending on students' needs. All right, there's a few other questions that I had listed. Do you have any others that keep on presenting themselves, Ms. Fasella?
There's some questions about, they're worried about they're working, they can't help their kids. If their kids call, there's going to be that video made for how to use Chromebook.
Right.
So
in terms of supporting your students with the technology and with the instructional practices, again, we're going to provide both videos and then online opportunities for parents to engage like this, probably in smaller groups, so that we can address specifically the concerns that parents have. We may even go to the point where if we have that much interest in doing it, that we'll schedule 10 parents at a time so that it can be much more interactive. One of the things I want to share with you is that our instructional technology department is very solid and they're very committed. And it's just a matter of what are the needs, and then we'll get those needs addressed.
Will it be 8 hours online?
No. One of the things I will share with you, and this is the guidelines that the state has shared with us regarding minutes for the 2021 school year while we're in distance learning. For kindergarten, the normal instructional minutes are 200 minutes. The state has adjusted that to 180 minutes a day. For first through third grade, it's usually 280 minutes. That has been adjusted to 230 minutes a day. For fourth through eighth, it's usually 300 minutes. That has been adjusted to 240 minutes a day. And for eighth through high school, or through high school, it's normally 360 minutes a day. That too has been adjusted to 240 minutes a day. Does that mean that students will be online for those entire minutes? No. It will be some semblance of instruction and some semblance of independent practice that will make those minutes up on a daily basis. Let's go back to some of the questions that I had that were shared with me on our list here. Let's see.
Someone asked about learning applications for virtual learning, I just said we're keeping those applications for now, and we'll let you have a decision when then, if that time.
Thank you for that. Those people who have reached out and have submitted the virtual instructional program, the VIP programs, we will hold on to those contracts. And if and when we start the process of bringing students back online, we will be in contact with you to see if you want to stay on the virtual program and or come back to school. One of the things too I want to make sure that I mention is that it's not like the health official is going to release us tomorrow and then we're going to be back to school on Friday. There's going to be a transition and a phased in period. So again, flexibility is the word of the day, and the second word of the day is patience. So we will get those kids back into school as we can in a safe manner. And obviously it's going to take some management to get through those, as we shared, get through those people who have wanted distance learning and work through that. But we will probably process that as we get school up and running in the distance format. Then we will work on the virtual part of that. So thank you for that. So what will be the expectations for students to complete and turn in their work at all grade levels? And so yes, there will be, as I said, last year when we left, it was where we were and it's what we had at that time. This time we're starting with a clean slate, and it will be developmentally appropriately and it'll be instructionally appropriate. And the two big things are attendance and participation, and not only participation in terms of being at school, but participation in the sense of the assignments and the different kinds of activities the teachers will be presenting during their instructional day. So students, that work will be evaluated. It'll be evaluated through Google Classroom. With TK and K, it'll be evaluated through those pencil paper packets. So teachers will be developing activities and lessons that students will be held accountable for, and then we'll have to return for instruction. To respond to the second part of that question, how will the rigor of assignments be monitored? Let's define rigor. Okay, rigor does not necessarily mean more. Rigor means depth, the depth of the instruction and the depth of the activities that teachers are presenting. So the rigor will be monitored both by administration and by teachers themselves as they collaborate on a grade at a grade level basis. They will definitely be providing rigor in their instruction. Our guidelines at Riverbank Unified are state standards through a district adopted curriculum that provide rigor for our students. So that is the goal in terms of the instruction that we'll be providing for students for the year. We answered those ones. We answered that one. What kind of training is being provided to the teachers to make distance learning successful this time around? So there's been a multitude of trainings that have been, so even though our plan was to come back to school once we left, we knew that there may be an inevitability of us having to do distance learning. So since day one, we have been providing what we call our tech drop-ins. So the different formats that we plan on utilizing for instruction throughout the year, we've been training teachers on that. On our district adopted curriculums, they all have technological pieces that are part of the instruction in the curriculum. Those things will be, that technology will be or has been developed and trained for the teachers to provide more depth and, as was shared previously, more rigor in those areas. So the distance learning training has happened all summer and will continue to happen while we're on distance learning, because again, as we approach these situations and as concerns come up, we'll definitely need to maintain that training, and that will happen on a regular basis. We haven't specifically delineated when that will happen, but it will happen on a regular basis as we're going through the distance learning process. Let's see. If a student needs falls behind and needs additional help, um, how will we support that? So one of the things that we're really looking at is obviously, I mean, if we consider this, we as educators call it the summer slumber or the summer layoff or the summer drop off. Whenever our kids go away during the summer because the rigor and the engagement and the instruction is not as significant as it is during the school year, every year we experience some kind of learning loss throughout the year. So obviously, if we talk about this as an extended summer vacation, right, that we've been on without being able to go anywhere, there is a concern about what have we missed and how do we re-engage students in that. So the manner in which we're going to address that is as we work through the instructional practices for, let's say I was in second grade last year, I'm going to third grade this year. Our goal is not to go back and teach everything that I missed in second grade last year. What we're going to do is as we provide that third grade instruction and we see that there are some critical or what we call power standards that may have been missed in second grade, we will apply those as necessary to develop the instructional appropriateness for that grade level. So as educators, we look at the curriculum that we present and we look at what are the most important things that I as a second grade teacher need to provide for my second grade students. And so those things we really try to focus on, and then we continue to develop that as we go through the year. And that's kind of how we're going to try to backfill as we go through. I don't want to give anybody the illusion that we will be catching students up, but because it's going to be a tall order.
That's our goal.
That is our goal, but it's going to be a tall order for us to progress them through. And our goal is to take them from where they are and grow them to the next level, wherever that may be. Okay. Let's see. And I think what happens if a child falls behind and needs additional help, that there'll be some core instructional activities. And what I mean by that is, the time for math, the time for English language arts, the time for the subject areas. And then there'll also be time, as I shared, where where teachers will look at students that need some very intensive support and will try to address those in small group distance learning activities to support those students. Okay. How will student growth be monitored? We will be looking at some of the tools that we normally use with our English language arts curriculum, both at kindergarten through sixth grade and our 7th through 12th English language arts curriculum, and then our math curriculums throughout all those unit assessments and unit tests that we give will help monitor that growth.
Can I just step in here? Can you just say that TK and kinder parents are going to be contacted by their teachers with much more information at a later date, that we're not equipped to answer all of the questions they have now.
Okay.
Repeat the minutes for TK and kinder and what it will look like, but at the same time.
Yeah, and then some of you who have been parents of ours are familiar with our iReady program. That will be another manner in which we will be monitoring student progress. And actually, we will be implementing that kinder through 12th grade, or actually 1st through 12th grade. So back to Ms. Facella's question. There are a lot of kinder TKK questions that are being presented tonight. We will do our best to respond to those, like I said, in the document that we will provide. But just to remind you, TK and K minutes are 180 minutes a day, and that will be more specifically addressed in terms of what those 180 minutes look like and how those students are being engaged by their teachers, right? By the schools and by their teachers. So bear with us on that. Let's see.
The high school will respond to.
So this question we've kind of already answered. Will the students be in a virtual classroom with the teacher the whole time where they can see each other and learn? And how many hours a day are students expected to be online? So we shared with that in terms of interaction, and those interactions are going to take place by grade level at specific times. So no, the whole day won't be virtually online. historically, we're trying to limit that screen time for students, and so that is our goal in terms of that. Let's see. I think we've kind of run through that
Can you
list.
say how sorry we are that, you know, we can't provide any daycare or we can't provide any after-school program while distance learning is on, because it's really.
One of the questions
Really
Ms. Fasella has shared with us is the fact that after-school daycare, and at this point, the state has limited us to us, had limited our time, had limited our access to students on campus, so we cannot provide after-school childcare at this time. We've actually received mandates from the State Department that have actually given us the flexibility to limit that time, that process at this time. So we do apologize for that, and we are looking at. I think online we have provided a list of childcare support in the community. And then if you have any specific, if you've shared specific answer or questions in the chat room, we'll try to respond to
And
that
also,
as well.
when we get on the phone with the County Office of Ed, we'll ask for updated information as well.
And the County Office of Education has been a partner in that. And when we get more information from them, we will post the information that they provide regarding childcare as well. I'm looking at a list of other questions that have been posed here. Will students have complete access to teachers throughout every day to ask questions as needed, or have virtual classes daily? So I think I've answered the virtual classes part in terms of what that looks like, but there will be access to teachers during the regular school day. Okay, let's move to this other list here. So when in-person classes resume, is the administration looking into holding classes primarily outside, since the virus is less likely to spread outside, and ongoing healthy child development? So when we do come back to school, it will be very definitive as terms of the guidelines that the public health official and the state health official and the governor's order allow us to do so. So it will be definitely defined in those areas. Okay, and I think all these other questions on this one I've answered on that list. I've answered. Ms. Fasella, are there other questions that have been posed that we may need to respond to?
I think some of these we can't answer. There's a question about, will AP and honors be continued on virtual if we go back? If we go back, kids in AP and honors have to be in class, I think.
Yeah. So
because we'll have limited capacity.
So the question was regarding AP and honors classes once we return to school, because of our limited capacity to those instructors and to those instructors, and to the time that we're creating for the online, or for the on foot students, that will not be an option for virtual when we do return to feed on campus. I see one question here is, what is the form called for virtual learning application? It's the VIP form, Virtual Instructional Program, and it's on the, if you click on our website under COVID, you'll find a list of it both in English, the guidelines and the application both in English and in Spanish.
Yes, it's under COVID updates regarding school.
COVID updates regarding school.
Yes, it's there.
Will kids be expected to sign in on like regular school day? And if they are not able to, would that affect their attendance? Absolutely. We are counting virtual. This distance learning is like regular learning, and so if they're not able to sign in, we need parents to reach out and communicate with us. Is it a personal, or not a personal issue, like a health issue because they're sick, or is it if it's a technological or format kind of problem, then that we can help support address that. So yes, so our expectation is that students are engaged on a daily basis. So can we hear back ASAP about kindergarten, as daycare providers need to know ASAP they are not holding spots, how many hours a day we need them online? That's a tough one because that is going to be fluid throughout the year. And so in terms of them being engaged online, I think that if I was you, I would make arrangements for childcare now and work backwards from that as how it works for your family or works for your situation. Because I think initially it's going to be a connectedness kind of thing in terms of recognizing their teacher, recognizing their classmates, and then most of that instruction is going to be paper pencil initially. So I would start with providing or getting the childcare and then working backward from that. Okay. Thank you. In terms of daycare not offering assistance for signing in for distance learning, that's something that we will have to consider, and we'll take a look at that one. We'll take a look at how we can best address that one. So thank you for that question. There will be a lot of questions that we haven't considered and things that that we'll need to address. Yeah, okay, that one was already answered. Thank you, Michelle Cooper and Ms. Facella. Let's see, I'm looking at the chat box and see if there's others that we have not been able to answer.
Call the school like you normally do.
So let's go back to the one that was on registration. The school personnel is there now.
But it opens Friday on.
School personnel is there now, so if you have questions, you can call them. School registration, we are going to do online this year. So most of that, most of the information that you would normally fill out when we send home those packets at the beginning of the year, all of that will be online, and Ms. Facella shares with me that will be available on Friday.
Yeah, online Friday. I already put it on there.
Online on Friday, just to reiterate that. And so we are doing our best to practice that social distancing and give people opportunities not to have to come and be engaged on a personal basis. One question here is, are they turning paper homework into, it's going to be, that's a case-by-case situation. Our TKKs, yes, that's going to be the expectation at the outset. Each other grade level, the teachers are going to collaborate on that and decide. It's probably, for the most part, we're trying to keep everything in terms of formats online. One of the questions says, if you can sign up, if you sign up for VIP at a later time, can you change your child back for in-school learning? And the answer to that is yes, after the grading period that they are enrolled in. So let's use an example that we started school, if we came back to school in October and you decided to put your student in online, in the VIP program for that, at that time, you would have to keep them in the VIP program till the end of the grading period of the school they're at. Like I shared, if they're at Riverbank High School, that will be for the quarter. If they're at elementary school, that would be a trimester. So, and then we will share guidelines in terms of what the timeline is prior to that. So, as an example, if we're going back to school, feet on the ground on Monday, and your student is presently in the virtual learning program, there's going to be a timeline that we're going to say we need this much time so we can make sure that we are prepared for the students in the classes and the teachers being available. Okay. What if our child can't sign in because both parents are working? There will be alternatives and opportunities for that in terms of what that engagement on a daily basis will look like.
And we can teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Kids are very adept with technology today.
Yeah.
Even the little ones, I think, can sign on.
We're hoping to provide those tutorials and those instructions for kids and for parents to be able to be independent in that arena. It's not something that will be perfect right out of the chute, but it will be something that we'll work for and develop through. Okay. Somebody asked if they can watch, yes, we are recording this and it will be posted online at the end when we're done here. It may be posted probably by tomorrow morning. Oh, thank you, Mr.
Somebody wants to
Fasano.
know about PE. I don't, you know what, that's gonna look different at every grade level.
PE is going to look different at every grade level. Thank you for that question.
And we don't know yet.
We don't know specifically what that's going to look like. The state has given us some flexibility in terms of PE minutes, but there will be some activities and some other things that will be presented, but that's something that we haven't delineated specifically on terms of what that will look like. It'll be up to you to make your kids dress and shower every day. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Mhm.
So let's see what other
I'm for them, so they know when it's time to sign up.
at this point, the question is the deadline extended for the VIP. At this point, if you're interested in VIP, submit the forms as soon as possible. We will eventually develop a deadline once that'll be part of that phasing in, returning to school thing. So let's say we're in October and it's October 1st and we got the green light to come back to school, then we will say, okay, you've got till Friday to turn those forms in or whatever. But that deadline will be fluid. But if that's something you want to consider, please apply sooner rather than later. And then like I said, when we do get to that eventuality, we will share whether we will reach out and ask, are you still interested in that program?
The parents have to log in as well so that we can see if our children are. No, but we're gonna let you know.
There was a question about, will parents be able to log on to see if their children are online? No, but we will be monitoring that interaction in that situation. If it does become a concern, we will let you know.
You want to answer the question about sick? Do we call the school? Yes, call the school.
How about distractions that might occur during classes? That's a concern my daughter has going back to high school. So distractions in terms of there are going to be a multitude of distractions in both virtually and feet on the ground, just like we have experienced as students ourselves. In terms of that question, if you have a specific concern about something specific, make sure that you reach out to your school site and get those questions or those concerns addressed. And the question is, what is exactly VIP? VIP is our virtual instructional program, and it's the distance learning that we will continue once we return students feet on the ground. The guidelines and the information are posted under our COVID updates on our district website.
We all recognize kids learn best in the classroom. So.
Yeah, but we all recognize that the most effective manner in which our students learn is when they are face-to-face with us and we can engage. One of the things, I thank you for bringing that up, is one of the things I want to share with you is that learning doesn't just happen because I'm teaching. There is a multitude of incidental learning that takes place by the fact that I'm walking by you on my way to recess and we're having a conversation, by the fact that we're playing games and being socially appropriate on the playground, by the fact that I have a conversation about the topic in my history or social studies class at high school. It goes beyond the classroom and it goes beyond the instruction that happens on a daily basis. And so that can't happen virtually, unfortunately. We are going to try to emulate as much of that as we can as teachers develop chat rooms and discussion links and guide and those kinds of things. But you don't always learn you don't learn everything through the instruction. There's a lot of incidental learning that happens when you are on campus, and that's the most, in our opinion, that's one of the most important things that we will be missing this year by having to be in distance learning. So how will we know when we pick up our child's Chromebooks and packages? Your schools will reach out to you with a letter, with a dialer, or with a post on their websites. If you've already turned in the VIP form previously, you do not need to resubmit. If we already have it, we kept everyone's who submitted. Like I said, once we get distance learning going and things rolling, we will come back and ask you if that's something that you are still interested in as soon as we get flowing in in guidelines and structures. Thank you for that 100 attendees for future Zoom meetings. I couldn't agree more. So we will look.
We can't. It doesn't take more than 100.
We will look at other formats. Zoom does not take more than 100 for us at this point. We will look at other formats, and if we can hold a larger capacity and other formats, we will ask you to be flexible and using those other formats. So. So the question here is, the district office opens Friday that we can address additional concerns or assistance with this entire process. If you have questions regarding the entire process or other concerns, do reach out to our district office. Our district office is already open. You'll need to make an appointment if you want to make sure that you have a specific time or specific personnel that you need to talk to regarding concerns that you have. So reach out to the district office. We are available. The office is open from 8 to 4:30. You can either email or call ahead, and then we can and you can list your concerns, and then we can address those at that time. Thank you. The disruptions in the class regarding muting, taking out of class for the day. Yes, we'll address those. Teachers will address those situations on a case-by-case basis. Absolutely. Our goal is to try to streamline instruction as much as possible, and there will be other alternatives in terms of that. So absolutely, we will, and other concerns that come up that we haven't even thought about that we will work to address. So. Yes, our goal is to get students back. The question is will there be guidelines set in place for safety? Yes, we will. We will definitely share those guidelines ahead of time in terms of what our distance learning slash social distancing guidelines will be, our mask guidelines, and our cleaning protocols. All that information will be outlined for you when we return to school. Okay, it's reached 6:30, and I know that there are a lot of there's a lot of questions that we did not answer that I hope to develop, and then we'll put a list together, and we'll put that under our COVID updates on our website. More information will be forthcoming, and as I shared, there'll be a lot more information coming from your school sites regarding your schedules, regarding Chromebook disbursement, regarding student interaction and student participation. So again, thank you all for your time, for most importantly for your patience and your cooperation. Again, like I said, this is something new for all of us, and we're all working through this together. And I'll be transparent up front. We don't have the answers to everything, and there are situations that we haven't considered that will present themselves. But our goal is every decision we make is the student's best interest, and that we support our families and our communities of Riverbank. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here to support our community, our students, our teachers, and your families. Thank you for that opportunity, and do not hesitate to reach out, send emails, call the district office, get your specific questions addressed and concerns responded to. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity, and have a great evening. Good night.